folks, in the spirit of things, we are moving forward in a new direction. And welcome everybody tonight for the paradigm shift. Strap in and enjoy the ride, because we're going to take you to another level. Anyways, this is Peter, better known as Peter Eugene, and I've been effectively peeling back this onion of truth since I was born, basically, folks. Just trying to unmask the falsities perpetrated by the nefarious ones, and that even started back when I was in the Catholic Church at the ripe old age of 13, as they were selling me that all men and women needed to go to some other man, priest, to sell me on a concept that someone died and left them God. And I knew in my mind and my heart I didn't need a middleman, so I didn't take the middleman and got effectively excommunicated from their little chasm, and that was fine with me because I had my mind right. Anyways, no man walking in an upright experience need ever buy the swill that they need a middleman for absolution. And just like the court system trying to get you absolution by consent through their financial system to get forgiven for your sins by assessing your estate, folks, and it is all about your estate, with a sin tax, I've spent the last 25 years in extensive research on the legal scam perpetrated on everyone, and has now been unmasked as the naked aggression that is going on every day in America, UK, Australia, Canada, all my brothers and sisters getting their brakes beat off under the guise of a scam. Anyways, it's being perpetrated by these bad actors daily, and I'm covering the control mechanisms for all to see who have eyes to see, folks, because you know what? Once you open your eyes, you will see what I'm sharing with you, and I can prove it to you irrefutably. Anyways, true freedom starts in the minds and the hearts of all willing to see. So I've effectively created a site for all to get their exponential learning curve enhanced by going to the free portal at privatist.me, folks. That's a starting point. And the spiritual awakening is now upon us for all who are ready to embrace their true divine nature and are free to do so. It is the objective of the show to bring to freedom with truth firmly in hand, and everyone needs to start thinking outside the box. So welcome to the spiritual paradigm shift, folks. We're fixing to step you up into another gear. Tonight I'm going to cover a couple of simple methodologies and capacities to help all of you get your minds right and get your bodies right, because I really think that the effective spraying of chemtrails and drinking out of aluminum cans and the fluoridization in the water supply has caused serious issues with a lot of people as far as what's happened is they build up actual oxidization, not so much oxidization, but aluminum buildup in the brain, which basically doesn't allow the proper synapse and the electromagnetic flow of the body to work in its proper capacity. Because we're all considered the body electric. The body works in tandem with the cellular infrastructure communicating with each and every cell through electromagnetic flow. That's how the body works. In my military time, in my 10 years in the military, in the medical side of the house, they really never taught this stuff much as far as educating the masses as far as how the body actually works. Yeah, I got the fundamentals of anatomy and physiology and how the muscles and the tissues and all these stuff come together. But they never really explained how disease and pathogens set up shop in our houses, which is our bodies and our minds. So I've come to the conclusion that there are simple methodologies available for everybody. This is what they don't want us talking about. So what I'd like to talk a little bit about also is, so this is why I'm bringing this truth to the masses, and most of you are awakening from your slumber and now are experiencing a consciousness shift due to the overwhelming truth being exposed to all men and women having a human experience. My objective is to bring forward this truth for the masses to digest in an easy-to-understand overview what has happened in our world and how to internalize the change from within. Anyways, I come with 53 years of life experience, and this truth is stranger than fiction, folks. So what I'm bringing forth in the shift on the spiritual and soul-provoking journey to get our minds and hearts right from the perspective that they know, you folks know, that something's wrong, and now you'll have the capacity for change within. Anyways, I'm bringing forward the compendium of incredible research on turning over these stones and how the big corporatization has had its hands in our life in the many systems like big pharma, big medical, big banking, big prisons, military-industrial complex, the court system especially, as well as uncovering the total massive control mechanisms put into place to rape the estates of every man, woman, and child for nothing more than a financial gain, folks. That's right. They have you classified as merely a money mark, and they've been basically probating your estate your entire life. But this is, we're not going to get into that deep end tonight. We're just going to cover stuff on the medical side of the fence tonight because that's where I live. So the goal of the show is to tie the truth together for all to have this life-changing experience and create solutions for all to get a resolution from these control freaks back in the hands of our brothers and sisters who have now become awake, which is obviously some of you folks if you're listening to this call tonight. So freedom is available for all who seek the truth, and it's time to shake the chains off that bind, folks. So this is where I'm running. So I welcome everybody to the call tonight. And the collective mechanism, control mechanism, is slowly but surely losing their effective hold, and that's where we change up everything for them. Because they don't want us to collectively come together, speak our minds, or pay attention, or open our minds, and actually look beyond the pale. They would effectively rather us just sort of stay dumbed down, sit in a position of passivity, in collective stupor, not paying attention to anything but Dancing with the Stars and Monday Night Football. Well, I know for the majority of you listening tonight, you collectively have come to the bow, trying to find out what the hell happened and what we can do about it. Well, that's where Peter comes in and brings effective solutions for the mindset of all those listening tonight. Because this is where it starts, folks. It starts between the ears. It starts with us. It starts with a collective mindset come together as one to affect a positive change. But it takes us to take an action. So based upon that, we're going to create some educational processes and information available to everybody on how to sort of get their minds right. And it does start with the physical, folks. Through the effective medications, chemicals, the pollutions, all these exposures that our bodies are having, we're actually having major issues on getting past our thinking processes in our minds. And that's part of the plan, is to effectively reduce us to non-thinking and not to look beyond the pale. Basically, we've actually have a lot of mitigating facts and informations and exposures to outside in the environments that are actually causing us issues with our bodies and our minds. So I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying this is what it is. This is the truth, is where it stands. But there's effective modalities to fix everything. However, they don't really want us talking about that. But tonight I'm going to start a little bit on basically on Celtic salt. Folks, for those of you who don't know what it is, yeah, I already have a taped audio over there at privatist.me. For all those who haven't signed in, you can do so for free. It's also posted on my page over here at Blog Talk and Freedom Reigns. So you'll be able to step into that room and effectively sign up. And I have modalities that I've created over the last month now. I've been working very busily and diligently to create educational formats and information that everybody can get. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be have medical acumen. All you have to do is have a little bit of logical thought process and be able to read a little bit and listen a little bit, and you'll get what I'm stating here. So we are effectively moving forward on a different level, but it starts with the body. It starts with the mind, and that's why I covered one of my first topics a month ago was dealing with the Celtic salt. If you are not aware what Celtic salt is, it's got 84-plus dense trace nutrients in it that's effective for creating the proper cellular synapse within the cells in the communication of the body, because the body is electromagnetic. So if the intracellular structure is not collectively working correctly and corresponding with each other through proper electromagnetic flow, then the body becomes sort of what they call acidic, and that's not a good state for the body to be in. That's how cancer set up shop. So the most neutralizing and effective modality to create the change in the body, in the climate, is creating, because your body is a saline sac, it's 80% saline, your water. But if your electromagnetic flow is not properly monitored or put into place, which in most cases for most it's not, if you've been eating from the table salt and the GMO foods and stuff like that, your body's pretty much dead internally. So what you need to do is turn on the engine and turn on the cells so the electromagnetic flow can take place so the body can move forward. And matter of fact, over on that site I have an excellent document for everybody to read. And that's, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up in a second and post it. It's already been posted over at the site at privatist.me, and it's an attachment. And it's a really good read, folks. It's very simple. It's pretty short, succinct, direct. But I want to share some of these informations with you so you don't think I'm just pulling this out of my backside. But it's imperative that the body get right. So in order to affect a positive change in your mind and your body so everything starts coming together, you got to get the cellular structure in your body actually corresponding in the proper context. So I'm going to cover, folks, a little bit about salt that heals, because this is very, very important. And, folks, it's dirt cheap. It's simple. This is why Big Pharma, Big Medical doesn't talk about this information. They would rather you, instead of creating solution for your body being in a alkaline state, which is a good state, and they'd rather be in an acidic state so you can become a money mark for Big Pharma, for statin drugs, cholesterol, this stuff. Folks, let me share something with you. I'm 53 years old almost, and I'm not on any medications. I know some of you think I should be, but that's all right. I am who I am, but I stand fast in the breach as far as having the clarity of thought, and that's probably why I get concepts. That's probably why I get information. That's probably why I don't go to the physicians, the white coats, because they would just rather poison me, make up that I got high blood cholesterol or whatever, so they can put me on some of their garbage statins. And, folks, I've seen firsthand what statins do to people, and it's really, you'd be better off taking a placebo. But I've seen a guy effectively go from 150 pounds to 235 pounds in 6 months because the doctors wanted to put him on statins for his cholesterol. Folks, there's good cholesterol, there's bad cholesterol. We won't go into that tonight. But he bought the lie. He put himself on the medication, gained 85 pounds in 6 months. So not only was he tired, tuckered out, his liver was taking a hit, his adrenal glands were taking a hit because he was on a chemical medication that has deleterious effects. And matter of fact, folks, if you ever watch the commercials, and you can see them every day, may cause this, may cause that. Well, folks, that's so they don't create a liability issue for themselves, so they're giving you the heads up. And so if you voluntarily take it, you have the liability, not you, and they could care less that they're poisoning you and causing your body deleterious side effects, adverse reactions, and they could care less because we got to keep the money machine greased. That's all it's all about, folks. That's why they have excellent control mechanisms on hemp. Hemp oil has been proven to effectively be an extremely effective modality for skin cancers, multiple other cancers, other major medical maladies. But they'd rather you not look into that or discuss it. See, because Big Oil, they weren't happy when, back in the 30s, when they created this scam. They didn't want us talking about that you could actually crush the hemp plants, and I'm talking about non-THC hemp, just the hemp plants. It was a renewable growth stock. Matter of fact, it was mandatory back in the 30s before they canked it and did the reefer madness scam that they already bought. But they were actually using it. It was mandatory in the wartime effort to create rope and multitudes of other products. It was mandatory for farmers to actually grow it back in the 30s. But we don't talk about that in the history lessons. What we do is we create diversions, like with movies like called Reefer Madness, and oh my goodness, everybody's going to smoke this and go blind and become a fiend or whatever. Well, folks, that's how they work. That's how they effectively neutralize. They plan and plot, and they basically propagandize the masses to actually buy the lie. So, folks, when they say the lie long enough, you actually believe it. And because you haven't been thinking outside the box, because nobody thinks to look or research or, educate themselves further, they just take these words of so-called wisdom from these clowns at the circus, and they actually buy off on the ideology without any further thought or any further research. So, inquiring minds want to know. So, folks, when you act in the proper, and when you act in the capacity to take somebody's word for something, I don't take nobody's word for anything, folks. If I can't research it and find the truth and get my sustaining documentation and information to verify whether it be fact or falsity, then I'm not buying it. That's called hearsay until I can prove differently, until I can sustain the facts through my education and verify. And I'm real big on verifying, folks, and that's what you should be too, because everything they're telling you, they're trying to tell you corn syrup's good for you. High fructose corn syrup, folks, it's basically flooding your body with sugar, poisoning your system, causing your adrenal glands to not work in the proper capacity, and then we wonder why all these children get fat and having diabetes issues. And that, by the way, that's another created man-made disease as well. Effectively, they've done a real good job of creating the problems, and they say they got the solution. So they create the problems, and they never expect you to look beyond the pale to find a solution. You're going to listen to them. Well, folks, I don't listen to them on any level. I basically, it's all swill, it's lies, these are everything they've told me pretty much my entire life's been a lie, so I'm looking at everything cross-eyed and jaded until I can verify or deny. So, folks, that's what I'm going to try and get everybody on the same page at, is you need to create selective capacity to be able to think and have a little bit of deductive reasoning, because to buy everything on face value without confirmation or proof is basically, like I say, it's considered a hearsay. But I want to get into the salts, folks. Salts are great. Not the crap that you're buying, the white powder, because, by the way, they put aluminum silicate in that. And guess what, folks? Aluminum is a brain barrier blocker and causes the brain not to think. So here's another issue. So I guess they've done a really good job of zombifying us. I haven't been eating table salt. I haven't been taking statins. I haven't been taking any medications. I know, like I say, some of you think I should. But I've come to the conclusion that, you can heal your own self on multiple levels. They just rather you not think like that. See what the problem is, folks? We've left the responsibility to take care of ourselves in the hands of somebody else who's supposedly a professional, has knowledge. They got 8 years of effective dumbing down, which the whole system's Rockefeller-owned, J.P. Morgan, all these folks funding these medical schools. It's for their allopathic, which is not homeopathic. Allopathic is we're going to cure the disease with a chemical. Well, folks, if you put a chemical in your body, what you do is you alter the state of the chemical capacity of your body to operate in its proper condition, and you actually create an uphill chasm within the internal organs of the body, because if it's a poison, if it's foreign to the body, just like GMO foods, it's going to cause the systems to become sort of frayed and dysfunctional and not operate in its proper capacity, because what you're doing is changing up the cellular structure at its most base level and changing every cell to operate in its proper capacity because it's got poison in it. That's what chemicals are, folks, poisoning. Sort of like treating cancer. It's just a bunch of poisons. I've lost 2 family members to cancer, so I'm well aware of the poisoning. Both my wife's parents, they died under a fallacy. They got poisoned to death and sent home to die. And even a brother of mine, just recently, his sister was sent home to die. She had lung cancer. And they just, after they get done exhausting the host and chemicalizing it through the poisons, well, we're done here. We have nothing else we can do. Nothing to see here. Go home and die. Well, folks, I don't subscribe to that philosophy in any way, shape, or form. So the last person I'm going to on my hit list is the guy who's going to poison me to death. Folks, this is barbaric. What they're doing in the cancer industry is unparalleled to the most barbaric, heinous crap I've ever seen in my entire life. Radiation therapy, folks, this stuff is paramount when they do radiation therapy. It's to being in nuclear fallout, folks. It's really the doses of radiation, and it's killing every good cell, everything that the body has a chance to fight back with. It's effectively neutralizing it and deadening the state of the body. So based upon that, folks, it's time to change the paradigm. This is where I've created my own paradigm by actually opening my mind and taking a look at all the lies and finding the incestuous ties with Big Pharma, Big Medical, FDA. People can't even be honest. Even the tests, folks, even when they test these chemicals, sort of like when aspartame came out in 1982, that's another poison, by the way, folks. It's a excitotoxin, and they're putting it pretty much just about most of the food products on the store shelves these days, from the bubble gum to the chewing gum. And I was on aspartame for about 14 years, folks, so I'm talking from firsthand experience, knowing a little bit about what I'm talking about. I started that Diet Coke back in 1982, and when Brother Donald Rumsfeld pulled out his favor, and by the way, he was the biggest stockholder of the company that was had the contract to create this friggin' poison for our brothers and sisters. But now here's the funny part, folks. The rats that they put in the test, they killed every darn one of them, and they still approved it through the FDA. So the FDA is not your friend, folks. If you believe that, I got some swampland in Arizona to sell you, because they're blowing smoke up our butts on every level. But let's come back to the cancer industry. I'm going to get to the salt in a minute, folks, but I got to get your minds open. I've really got to wake you up a little bit, because if you're buying the philosophy from the white jackets and the mainstream news media, if that's your source of your education and your information, you've been lied to. Sorry to tell you. You're going to have to hug the tree of truth instead of the tree of lies, because that's all they're selling you, folks. So through the proper propagandization, they effectively make your mind go to sleep, so nobody thinks beyond it. Because I can't blame the folks for the most part, because for the most part, most people are so busy punching a time clock, they don't have time to take a look around them, what's going on right in front of them. They just literally living from day to day, punching a time clock and going through the motions. Folks, that's not a way to live. That's a way to die. That's an effective methodology to neutralize your brain so that you become just a consumer, so they can make tons of money off you, so you can go buy the Gucci shoes and the other crap that has absolutely no value in the real world. Folks, the real value starts with you. The real value starts inside your heart, your mind, and your soul. Well, they want to neutralize all those areas so that you don't think, so that you don't have a mind, so you're not looking beyond the pale. They want to effectively neutralize every possibility of you thinking outside for yourself. Well, folks, I know for most of you listening tonight, you're taking the blinders off, and this is a good start. And this is where we live. This is this is the paradigm shift, like I've been saying for months, and it's time for a change. And that's why I'm creating effective modalities, educational portals, information, so everybody can find their truth for themselves. So you don't have to believe me, because if you believe me, folks, I could be lying to you, but I'm not. But it's considered hearsay unless you can confirm or deny for yourselves. So this is what I'm going to teach you how to do, is to confirm or deny for yourselves. This is how the brain works. This is how you get your facts. This is how you get your truth. But let's talk about, let's go into unrefined ocean salt, sea salt, which is an effective modality for the body to become electromagnetic in its proper state. This is the first stepping point, folks. This is the first modality that you got to start with. Everything else doesn't matter if the cellular structure in the body is not communicating with each other in its proper electromagnetic force and its proper electromagnetic flow. So let's talk about salt. Ocean water is currently an average of 3.5% water by weight, and dry matter. Dry ocean salt is composed of 80 element minerals. Well, folks, that white salt you get off the table and you buy from the food stores, that's not the stuff you're looking for. That's the garbage. That's the poison. It's just sodium chloride with absolutely no nutritional sustenance in any way, shape, or form to affect a positive change with the body. Matter of fact, when you take on that salt, you create edema, you tax your system, you get gut leaking, you get multiple other issues. So that's the poison salt, folks. So you know what? That's the one you have. When the doctors tell you to stay away from that one, they couldn't be more correct. But they sure as hell aren't going to tell you about the nutritional salt, the dense salt with the 80-plus trace elements, i.e. salts that heal. They won't talk about that. I don't know why. I guess they just need a lot more business these days. So as an effective money mark, if we can keep continuing to poison the masses and they don't wake up, then we got some future revenue generation stream, and that's all you are, is a revenue generation stream, folks. Sorry to put it bluntly, but this is the truth, and the truth sometimes hurts, but it's the fact. The truth is still the truth. It stands on its own. Anyways, salt is an essence of life, folks. Natural salt is an essential element in the diet of not only humans, but of animals and even of many plants. The use of natural salt is as old as human history. Natural salt is one of the most effective and most widely used of all food seasonings and natural preservatives. Natural salt is a source of 21 essential and 30 accessory minerals that are essential to our health. According to some sources, the other elements are up to 5% of dry ocean salt. Unrefined sea salt, 98% sodium chloride, and up to 2% other mineral salts, Epsom salts and magnesium salts. That's another show in itself. Magnesium chloride, folks, that's another element that's missing in our bodies. About 90% of us are totally deficient. And there's an effective modality that can fix that very, very quickly, and they don't talk about that either. But we'll get that to a later date. Anyways, you have calcium salts, potassium salts, manganese salts, phosphorus salts, and iodine salts all together. Over 100 minerals composed of 80 chemical elements. Anyways, the composition of crystal ocean salt is so complicated that no laboratory in the world can produce it from its basic 80 chemical elements. Nature is still better chemists than the people, because that's all these other people do. They basically want to do is chemicalize everything and get a patent on it so they can make money, folks. Once you understand that, it's just about the stinking money, then that's when the mind starts opening up and you're looking for other directions to change your paradigm, to get your mind right to make this proper change. Anyways, this salt has been used since the beginning of life by ocean plants, by animals, and by people. Anyways, let's go down a little further. I'm going to talk about this. I know nobody's got this attachment, but this write-up, is located over at privatist.me and in the educational portals, and I think it's pretty much available for free. If it's not posted, I'll repost it. But this is an article that everybody needs to read because it's really, really condensed, but it's really well put together, and it's simple to follow. So this is where you get your facts, and this is where you get your truth. Anyways, on the labels of many packaged foods in supermarkets, as well as health food stores, the name sea salt often appears. Well, reading this, we feel safe and reassured. Well, there you go, folks. Here you go. We've been hoodwinked again. I didn't know myself until I started researching this further. Anyways, thinking that when it comes to the salt part of the ingredients, all is fine. But, folks, all is not fine. The supermarket or health food store sea salt has been totally refined. I'm not talking about the Celtic grade salt. I'm talking about the crap they're labeling as sea salt on the store shelves, like at Walmart and Sam's Club and all these other places. Most of them aren't carrying Celtic salt. At its origin, many have come from the sea, but it has been harvested mechanically from dirt and concrete basins with bulldozers and piped through metal conduits, put through degrading artificial processes, heated under extreme heat levels in order to crack its molecular structure, robbed of basically all of its essential minerals that are essential to our physiology, folks. These elements are extracted and sold separately to industry, and precious and highly prized by the salt refiners. These bring more profits than the salt itself. So, folks, here we go. Follow the money. Here we go again. Further adulterated by chemical additives to make it free-flowing, bleached, and iodized. To call what remains as sea salt, what they're on the store shelves, most of it, would be quite misleading. In addition, folks, harmful chemicals have been added to the processed, altered, unnatural substance to mask and cover up all the impurities it has. These added chemicals include free-flowing agents, inorganic iodine, plus dextrose and bleaching agents. Standard salt additives like potassium iodide added to the salt to avoid iodine deficiency, disease of thyroid gland, and sugar added to stabilize iodine and has anti-caking chemical. And, folks, here's the big one, aluminum silicate. Well, remember what I said about aluminum, folks? Aluminum's not good on any level, in any way, shape, or form, or capacity for the body. When they put that crap in the salt, it attaches to the brainstem. Like I say, it stops the intracellular structure from communicating with each other, each on its cellular base level in its proper electromagnetic flow. The body is electric. Everything you do, it requires a synapse of electromagnetic flow, including your heart, which is controlled by what's called the sinoatrial node, and that's the actual ticker, the electromagnetic ticker in your heart to keep you upright. Without that working properly, that's why you got people going in for pacemakers and all this other stuff, because their electromagnetic flow has been compromised. They're acidic, they're dead inside, and they don't have proper intracellular structure, so they got to go get a stinking pacemaker. So maybe now you'll understand why when somebody goes gets a pacemaker, their body's obviously deficient. And folks, all these little innuendos or these little nuances can be fixed in simple methodologies, which is a simple dose, half a teaspoon crushed Celtic gray salt in some basically effective distilled water, no fluoride water, and mix a little even sodium bicarbonate in it, folks. Not only does it make the body electromagnetic and lets the cellular structure work and breaks down the aluminum buildup in the brain so all the cells start functioning properly with the thinking capacities. The sodium bicarbonate makes the body oxygen-rich, so no pathogens can set up shop, i.e. cancers and stuff like that. So these are really two simple, easy products that anybody can use. And by the way, folks, if you're going to use sodium bicarbonate, which is baking soda, do not use Arm & Hammer. Matter of fact, they don't put it on the label, but they're putting aluminum in it, and that's been found out. But Red Mill, which is the proper brand I use, it's the only one that I know it's not been bastardized or chemically reduced to a lower common denominator. It's 100% natural, and that's what I effectively use on my body. And that's what provides proper synapses and electromagnetic flow through the body, as well as creating an oxygen-rich environment so garbage can't live in your house and cause you to fall down. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about salt intake is vital. And we're going to be moving on. So let me take a look. Through my years in the medical field and through all these, trainings or educations, and it's ironic that they always tell us just one side of the story. They never tell us the other side of the story. So I'm going to give you the other side of the story tonight, because your education does start with you, though. And I can't carry all your water, but I can sure as hell lead you to the trough to start drinking, because you're going to need to. Because if you don't, if we as a mass, as a collective community, as a collective whole, don't create a capacity to start thinking outside the box, they're going to be putting us in the box. And I'm not saying that to be negative. I'm just saying that as a fact. And this control mechanism, this thing called government, it's not even about government, folks. It's about corporatism. It literally is about control mechanisms. This is why they don't teach this in school. All these informations that I'm creating for you here now, this should be common knowledge, and it used to be 100 years ago. But we've, in our high-speed living, our high-speed access in life, we basically shut our minds down and effectively let the responsibility be somebody else's to tell us how we got to go or what we got to do, when to jump. Folks, I know. I did 10 years in the military. Yeah, they told me to jump, and I said, how high? But at the same time, I was still a square peg in the round hole because I knew something was amiss. Folks, you don't need control mechanisms. You don't need to be told what to do. What you need to be doing is examining what's up in your gray matter in your brain and start opening your mind to the possibilities. This is a paradigm shift. This is a change. But in order to experience it, you got to get in the game. You got to actually take an action on your own behalf. You got to take responsibility. We all have to. This is where I live. This is because if I didn't, then this same chicanery would continue to go on, folks. But it seems that a lot of you are waking up in a real good way, and I'm really happy to see that. So the exposure is now being unmasked. The curtain's being pulled back on multiple levels, and people know that something's amiss. They just can't quite put their finger on it. Well, that's where I come in, and I'm going to give you clarity. I'm going to give you direction. I'm going to give you education on a different level because I want you to get your mind right. Because until that starts, then what's going to happen is the duplicitous acts that they're continuing to get away with are going to continue to happen. And that's why we go into exposure mode. So it's not about beating anybody up. It's not about warring with anybody. It's about freedom with responsibility starts with us. It starts in our minds. Starts with our education, and it starts with us doing some of the heavy lifting and actually taking responsibility for one's own actions. It's nobody's job to fix me. It's nobody's job to take care of me. It's nobody's job to tell me what to think, what to eat, and how to neutralize my brain thought housing group to take a vacation. My brain doesn't take a vacation, though my wife wish sometimes it would. Matter of fact, folks, yeah, you ought to live in my head for 24 hours. You'd be amazed. But the whole point being is it really, really starts with us by opening our eyes and opening our ears and opening our minds. So you're in the right place, but the education that you're going to get, I'm going to give you simple. Folks, this is where I live. I create simple modalities and education and information so that you can go find it, read it for yourself, and get on the right page. So that's effective, folks. It really works. So if you can see it, feel it, touch it, that's what's going to give you the clarity of thought. But until you stop for a minute to take a look at it, you're looking into the abyss. These control mechanisms will continue to reach out and grab you and direct you where you really don't want to go. And so you got to change up in midstream. So this is where we start. So I'm really excited that we are creating a new paradigm shift, and that's why I came to the fray. My producer gave me an option, said, Peter, would you like to share with the world what you know, because you deal with it and you put it down in a way that people can understand. And that's the way it is, folks. I can't get on these real deep levels with etherealism and stuff like that. I understand it. I'm a spiritual man, but at the same time, my thought processes are mine, and how I adapt to them and how I apply them, and that takes a little bit more of a educational process, deeper thinking, introspection, looking into oneself, into your soul, into your mind, into your heart. So we're not going to go to those deep levels. We're going to go to basic, fundamental 101 stuff, so that's your starting point. You can change your whole paradigm just by taking a few simple steps, just by starting to think outside the box and just getting your education. So with that said, on this salt issue, folks, it's one of the most effective, simple methodologies to literally get the body right on multiple levels, and it's a starting point. But the irony is, like I say, big pharma, the big medical conglomerates, have all effectively gotten together, and they don't want us educated. They don't want us thinking. They don't want us talking about these information. Well, that's all I want to talk about, because that's where I live. I want to talk about stuff they don't want me talking about. So with that being said, we're going to step back into the effective modalities of salt, because, folks, this is really, really simple information, and it's really powerful, and it's really true. That's the whole point. There's no fluff, no garbage. I want you to get your world right effectively, but it's going to start with you, and it's going to take a little heavy lifting, but not much. So let's go ahead and come back to ground zero, and that's what I call it, folks, because when your body's electromagnetic properly, you come back to ground. Ground is a very good thing. That's where the body needs to be. You have charges. You have positive, negative, ground, discharge. Well, folks, you always want to come back to ground. So let's come down. I'm going to talk a little bit about salt intake being vital. And since salt is a vital substance for the survival of all living creatures, especially your body, because you're 80% saline, folks, particularly humans, water and salt regulate the water content of the body. Water itself regulates the water content of the interior of the cell by working its way into of the cells it reaches. It has to get there to cleanse and extract the toxic waste of the cell metabolism. Salt forces some water to stay outside the cells, but it balances the amount of water that stays outside the cells. I know I'm getting a little medical on you, folks, but this is just a fundamental overview 101. So there are two oceans of water in the body. One ocean is held inside the cells of the body, and the other ocean is held outside the cells. Good health depends upon most delicate balance between the volume of these oceans, and this balance is achieved by salt, and I'm talking about unrefined salt, not the garbage you get from Walmart. Even that, like I say, they're so-called sea salt. It may say it might have 1% sea salt in it, but it has no effective mechanisms to releasing the 84-plus dense nutrients to the body to get the electromagnetic flow correct. So when water is available to get inside the cells freely, though, it's filtered from outside salty ocean and injected into the cells that are being overworked despite their water shortage. This is the reason why in severe dehydration we develop an edema and retain water. The design of our bodies is such that the extent of the ocean of water outside the cells is expanded to have the extra water available for filtration and emergency injection into the vital cells. So the brain commands an increase in salt and water retention by the kidneys, and this is how we get edema when we don't drink enough water. So initially the process of water filtration and its delivery into the cells is more efficient at night when the body is horizontal. The collected water that mostly pools in the legs does not have to fight the force of gravity to get onto the blood circulation. And if reliance of this process of emergency hydration of some cells continues for long, the lungs begin to get waterlogged at night and breathing becomes difficult. So the person needs more pillows to sit upright to sleep. This condition is a consequence of dehydration. However, you might overload the system by drinking too much water at the beginning. Increases in water intake must be slow and spread out until urine production begins to increase at the same rate that you drink the water. When we drink enough water to pass clear urine, we also pass out a lot of salt that was held back. This is how we get rid of edema, fluid in the body, folks, by drinking more water. Not diuretics, not sugary water, not sugary sodas, but more water. And people who have an extensive edema and show signs of the heart begging to have a regular or very rapid beats with the least effort, the increase in water intake should be gradual and spaced out, but not withheld from the body naturally. Salt intake should be limited for 2 or 3 days because the body is still in an overdrive mode to retain them. Once the edema has cleared up, salt should be not withheld from the body. Salt has other functions other than just regulating water content of the body. What I'm going to cover with you here, folks, this is called sea salt's hidden powers. And this is live salt. Here, I'm just going to share with you a little bit of overview. And this is following information is from Sea Salt's Hidden Powers. And matter of fact, there's a book on it. I don't have that book. Haven't had to dig into that one. But anyways, there was a late French scientist called Dr. Alexis Carrel, and he kept a chicken heart alive, folks, for over 27 years by having the pulsating heart in a solution of sea salt, i.e. isotonic water. Dr. Carrel voluntarily ended the experiment after a third of a century, having proven that living cells can have physical immortality if you're getting the right salt, folks, and it really comes down to that. Anyways, Professor C. Lewis Caravan, with his scientific research and formulas, has been an asset to the scientific establishment, and he was a candidate for the Nobel Prize. Professor Caravan links us to the secret of immortality and reveals its prime source is trace minerals from seawater and used in remedies. Other physicians continued research and found fermentations of briny salt pickles, salted sour plums, and other salty fermentations to be powerful and effective medicines. Anyways, Dr. Jacques Langre, Ph.D., who wrote the book Sea Salt's Hidden Powers, states that naturally and properly sunshine-preserved sea salt, that's the Celtic light gray salt, folks, I'm talking about, is the difference between life and death, health and illness, social sanity, and planetary panic, and its elements are vital for proper body functions. That natural hand-harvested Celtic ocean salt alone helps to maintain life, and it neutralizes toxins, detrimental bacteria, and enhances all organic function. Folks, sea salt contains 92 essential minerals, and most all refined adulterated sea salts contain only 2 elements, which is the Na and Cl, which is chloride. Anyways, biologically, 24 of these elements in real sea salt have already been proven necessary and essential to maintain and recover health. That was posted in the Scientific Journal back in July of '72, The Chemical Elements of Life by Earl Frieden. Anyways, folks, when dietary deficiency of trace elements occur, cells lose the ability to control their ions, with dire consequences for humans. Even a minute loss of ion equilibrium causes cells to burst, nervous disorders, brain damage, or muscle spasms, as well as breakdown of the cell regenerating process and growth. So in the theory of acid versus alkaline balance, chronic disease such as cancer, folks, is caused by the acidification of the blood, lymph, and all cellular tissues. Real sea salt is one of the basic elements necessary part to correct this problem. Natural sea salt, reconstituted seawater, allows liquids to freely cross body membranes, the kidneys, glomerulus, and the blood vessel walls. When the sodium chloride concentration rises in the blood, the water in the neighboring tissues is attracted to that salt-rich blood, and the cells then reabsorb the enriched intracellular fluid, folks. If they are functioning properly, the kidneys remove the saline fluids easily. Refined salt does not allow this free crossing of liquids and minerals. Matter of fact, it causes accumulated fluids to stagnate in joint, producing edema and chronic kidney problems. Folks, there's so many benefits. We're going to get to some of the benefits in a short minute, but I can't expound upon this simple, easy, effective modality to get the body right, and this is a starting point. And like I say, we all have, for the most part, if we've been exposed to the elements of the real world, we've been basically having effective shutdowns of our bodies because we've become acidic because we've left the playing field of finding or utilizing something that has effective ease of capability of getting the body and the mind right. So it really does start with this, folks. So we're going to cover a little more, and then I would probably open the door for some calls here in a little bit. Anyway, salt, folks, is a single element required for the proper breakdown of plant carbohydrates into usable and assimilable human food. Only when salt is added to fruits and vegetables can saliva and gastric secretions readily break down the fibrous stores of carbohydrates, etc. Once salt is dissolved and ionized, the salt possesses a definitive reactivity, folks, and listen to this, and it has full electromagnetic capabilities and passes more easily into the large colon where it will have a sanitizing effect. Notice how they're talking about electromagnetic capabilities, folks. That's what I'm trying to say, because you are electromagnetic and your body runs off electromagnetic flow. But if it's impeded, then your body becomes acidic, and you effectively can't neutralize the toxins that are building up in your system because you're not operating with the proper 84 to 92 plus dense trace elements that the body is required to have, because you are a salt bag, for lack of a better term. I don't know how to put it any way else. Anyways, though, table salt, though, on the other hand, prevents any moisture from being reabsorbed, and the salt refiners add aluminosilicate of sodium or yellow prussiate of soda as desiccants, folks, plus different bleaches to the final salt formula. After these processes, the table salt will no longer combine with the human body fluids, so it invariably causes severe problems of edema, water retention, and several other health disturbances. So, folks, you know, it comes down to what I'm sharing with you is straight up simple, easy. This is why I created this effective modality for everybody to get access to. By the way, if you got a health food store in your area, the majority of them carry the Celtic gray salt. Get you a little salt grinder because, folks, I'm going to tell you how to use this. It's effective and easy. I do a half a teaspoon each day because until you grind up those little nodules, you don't release the 84 plus dense nutrients. So it's always good to grind up only what you're going to use. You can put it in distilled water. Take a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, whatever you can tolerate taste-wise. And I throw a little sodium bicarbonate for measure because I like my body oxygen-rich, and I like my brain cells working a little bit more effectively. So I do a teaspoon of sodium bicarbonate, which is salty by its own right as well. So I get the double dose, but I only got to drink it once, folks. I just do it once a day, and effectively gets my body on track each and every day to operate in its proper electromagnetic capacity. So this is really, really neat stuff. It's really simple to do, and it's effective. All right, folks, we're back to salt. Like I say, salt's an important, integral part of your whole life. Without the proper amounts of it, you're going to get created all sorts of hostile environments within the body. So you can reduce this very simply, very effectively. Matter of fact, it's dirt cheap, and I've been using it now for months. And I'll tell you what, folks, my brain works a whole hell of a lot quicker, a whole lot faster. I grasp concepts a lot quicker because everything's operating in its proper capacity. It's really amazing what it can do. Yeah, I'm not a salesman for salt, but at the same time, you know what? It's an integral part of how your body operates on all levels, and that's why, like I say, we are in a disease state world, and like I say, they're not going to cover this information because these are simple modalities that are effective to create literally a proper capacity for a proper environment of your body to actually function in its good capacity. So without it, you're going to basically set up a host of different disease, and this is what they depend upon. Folks, this thing is so interconnected, and I'm going to cover a little bit just on that level, how big pharma and the medical community works a little bit. Matter of fact, I'm going to cover just a little bit before I come back to salt. I want to cover a little bit on the cancer issue because it's massive, huge, on so many different levels. They've created so many chemicals over the last 50 years, and folks, this is the insane part. These are literally like Frankenstein techniques, what they use to slash, cut, and burn their way through fixing people, and they're not fixing them at all. What they're doing is just creating major issues for the body, deleterious effects, chemically induced, so that they can continue to get their money marks made. I want to talk about Project Pink a little bit. That's one subject that nobody really likes to talk about, but for those of you, take a look around. You got the Susie G. Komen run for, I know the people who put it on, who I guess started it, they might have gone in with good intent, folks, but they're selling you on a lie. That's the whole point. For a woman to go in and get irradiated every year or every 6 months for a mammogram and breast x-rays and all this other garbage, these are what's creating the issue for most of the women across the land. And so they effectively, they have the incestuous ties financially. So, folks, that's what I look for, and that's where I tie in all these loose ends. Just follow the money trail, and when you start following it, you're really going to get mad because they've actually created a lie and propagandized you to actually buy off on a false ideology. And by the way, the pharmaceutical company behind the Susie G. Komen Run for Life, they give a vested interest to the Susie G. Komen Foundation, and the corporate officers at the upper crust of the structure are making piles and piles, but they're really not putting out any money to fix and cure cancer, folks. They're just created a scam, a money-making scam, so that they can make piles of money, keeping you dumbed down to actually go to the doctors through the propaganda machine to continue to do this insane behavior that literally has deleterious effects on every woman in America. And, just like the proctologists and all these other folks, talking about the men for prostate cancer, folks, the rate, everybody's got some deleterious cells in their body, but what they'll do is they create through the lie, and the majority of men don't have any prostate cancer, but they'll create a factor that will make you think differently. But like I said, they're not telling you the truth. All their studies are skewed. In the medical journals on the medications, they're all skewed. They're usually the articles written about cancer are usually written by doctors on the dole, on the pay, from the system of records, so that they can keep this this fear-mongering about cancer. And folks, yeah, cancer it's a serious issue. It's a major issue because, like I say, they've created a hostile environment to our bodies through all these other foreign and chemical agents, through the ingestion of irradiated food products, GMO food products, fluoridated water. So we're getting exposed on multiple levels, and they created this game so they can make some more money. And it's a sad state of affairs, but it really always comes down to the stinking money. When you follow the money trail, you really start getting mad. So based upon that level, this whole system, like I say, from the court system all the way on down, is just an effective mechanism, a control mechanism, because they sure as hell don't want you educating yourself with the truth that, gee, something as simple as Celtic sea salt could actually effectively have a positive outcome on your body and creating you into a positive state electromagnetically where the cells actually communicate and work properly. Then your body's going to actually start running right, and, we can't have that. We can't make no money if you're well, and that's the whole point of the exercise, folks. This cancer thing is massive, huge. But the irony is, here we are 50 years later, and the success rate of healing cancer has effectively gone down 0.07%. It was 3% was about the effective modality 50 years ago. We're down to 2.3%. And they've had 50 years to get it right, folks. You know what? They never plan on getting it right. That's the point. And when you get that memo, then you start looking for alternatives to effectively get your body in its proper positive state. And that's why I'm talking about this goofy salt thing, because it's really, really very powerful, and it's very true. And because, like I say, until you get your body into its proper state, nothing is going to run right. The adrenal glands, the organs, the heart, your ticker, your brain stem, everything. It's being literally reduced to a non-functioning capacity on multiple levels. So, very, very simple. Go ahead.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Go, come on in. Who we got here, brother?
You got teaching for results here. As a matter of fact, I have a show coming up Sunday. But there's one point I wanted to make. There's one point I wanted to make pertaining to something that you had mentioned, which is a very important key. And this is what happens the majority of the time. It's overlooked. Now, you mentioned these things that are, affecting us in so many different ways pertaining to the environment and life itself. Now, like you said, when it's very important that we have an understanding that this way, like as it's been taught, that we won't be led astray. And it's unfortunate that we lack that understanding. Now, I only know of one thing that can fix us all, and I know it has nothing to do with anything that anybody can build with their physical hands. Now, reason being is because if you really look at it, we're nothing more than just cattle. Okay? Now, the reason I'm saying that is because we have been poked, pushed, shoved, in any capacity that you could possibly think of, with all of these things that are being created through product. Now, because of that particular industry or mode of gain, it creates a condition. Now, that brings me to the point of what you had said, where I say a lot of people miss because it's overlooked. And what I'm mentioning is the very state. Okay? Now, I'm telling you that the only correction and understanding that's needed is to change the state, which means it's the state that's in the condition is the reason why you're in that position. Meaning, it's your state, meaning your condition. Your condition is not correct.
Yep.
So therefore, look at your condition, and then you can start making some corrections, because I'm saying if you can't see yourself, constantly, grasping things and not knowing why, then that's what you need to be investigating. So I just wanted to make that point.
No, it's a very good point. Yeah, the state, and I'm not talking about the state or the state. You're talking about the state of mind, the state of body, the state of spirit. Yes.
Exactly. We're talking mental. Now, and the reason being is because you said 50. I'm looking at 2,000. Because, again, I came into this particular show because, again, I was running through some things and I was looking. I said, let me listen in before I've actually begin. And, if it's not about the spirit of things, then forget about it.
Yep.
It's not going to happen. Now, I'm telling you that, we cannot want to look at it at all. And you probably would be better off. Because if you get just a little bit of it, you have no other choice but to go to get the rest of it. And the reason I'm saying that is because the moment that your eyes are open, at that point is when it's too late for you to ever look back again. So
right.
The race that you thought that you were running before has now turned into one where you have to lay down your life for it. So, at the end of the day, what it all could ever be is that, we're running a race, and that's the race of death, right? Or would I be?
Yep.
I mean, to say it fairly, because, is it necessary that we keep paying? My perception is this. What can we do to fix it? And may that be the reason why, if there's so many of what we need, then why is it such a burden to put so much pressure on something when it's going to be taking care of itself over a period of time anyway? So with that being said, to continue to take the product and use it as a means of mass to control, which is ridiculous. So all of those things come into effect, let's say, like you mentioned about the salt. Now, I'm telling you that if at this day and age, if people are not looking at things, or let's put it this way, at this day and age, if you can't look at things, or you can't see from a three-dimensional perspective, you got a huge problem. And the reason I'm saying that is because of this. When you mentioned salt, I got a three-dimensional perspective from what you were saying. I didn't see it as something that I know that they're using to preserve, because I don't need anything to preserve me. I already have that. So why am I ingesting it? Now, I was told to do some things, and yet I still haven't followed through. So with that being said, tell me why am I continuing to go back to those very same things that I was told not to, but for some reason I'm getting enjoyment out of it, but it's killing me faster.
No, what type of salt are you talking about, brother? I ain't talking about the salt you're talking about, I don't think.
Well,
do you know what Celtic sun-dried salt is, and the 84 plus dense nutrients on the medical level and what it does to the body? They use it in burn centers.
Exactly. I'm saying, in respect to it, I'm saying at any point, no salt is no good unless it's already there. So, with that being said, the only salt that you need is the one for the understanding. What they're injecting into, he said that we shouldn't partake of it anyway because we have no rights to it. Now, I'm saying that because, the only thing that we should be ingesting is something that we should be growing. Now, if it didn't come from the ground, then guess what? Don't eat it. It wasn't told to eat. And that goes into retrospect with this point. Because, again, I'm giving you things that are based on fact. Now, I'm telling you that from the very beginning, he said that it was a problem to take a life. We don't have that privilege. So because of that, you think that reproduction is for nothing? Okay. So let's just say, figuratively speaking, reproduction is definitely meant for something. And the reason being is because it keeps happening. So if it keeps happening, something has to be an end result of that, which means that because it keeps happening, it hasn't happened yet. Right? Because we're at a point where, believe me, reproduction is because something keeps happening. I'm telling you now that if a life was meant to be taken, then why was there a reproduction? So salt is definitely not needed from the three-dimensional perspective. It's only based on the perception of what it's trying to preserve. So again, looking at it from a three-dimensional perspective, it's meant for so much more.
Yeah, well, I guess everybody has their perceptions, and I'm going to explain the vital functions of salt, brother. Not the garbage, not the chemically produced garbage. I'm talking about the stuff that comes from the earth, the valid seed.
Right.
You're right. Everything that comes from the ground is good. Everything that comes from the earth is good. That's why we don't talk about these homeopathic remedies, because, 100 years ago, they were using, hemp oil back even 100 years ago until big pharma, big industrial medical complex decide to get their hands in the business of control mechanisms to control the masses. And it all comes down to we all have choices and there's solutions. And there's simple methodologies that are all natural to the body and actually integrate to affect a proper positive outcome so that the system can function in its proper capacity. But without that element, those trace elements like from Celtic salt, your body is devoid of its proper substance, its electromagnetic flow. Because without the proper electromagnetic flow, you're going to die. You're in an upright position and you're having a human experience, but you will cease to exist when the system becomes acidic. And there's absolutely no reason for the system to become acidic, but because through the lack of education, the lack of knowledge, because they don't teach us in medical school, they don't teach us in regular school, just like the lies of the history lessons, everything's been agent provocateur crap since since 1861, and even further back, hundreds and hundreds of years. The whole point being is we've gone asleep. We have not paid attention. See, so there's been an effective neutralizing effect of the mind to actually operate in its proper capacity and function. So this is where, when I talk about this issue here specifically, about this salt, that's a starting point. That's the basis of the body actually functioning in its upright capacity, in its proper electromagnetic flow. And without its proper content, with the 84-plus dense nutrients to be available to the system is going to cease to function. So, we can get on these other tangents about all this other stuff, but see, this is where I come down to straight-up simplicity. I like to keep it simple because I can go into complex micronutrients and dense compounds and GLAs and DNAs and all this other garbage. Nobody's going to get the memo, bro. But I can create an the educational information overview where this is they can see it, feel it, touch it, and their minds can understand the concepts. But if you can't understand it, a clouded mind says no.
It brings me back to that little point that you made. At the end of the day, because life is very complex, especially when we start dealing with people that have been doing things for so long, for a certain period of time. Change it becomes a difficult thing. So, to say the least, I'm saying, at the very beginning of all things, you got to have a foundation, and I think before you can get into any medical term or anything pertaining to what affects us in any sort of way, I think there's a major component that has to be sought out first, and without that, I don't think you ever be found in any shape, form, or fashion pertaining to salt or anything else. And what I'm mentioning is this: if you don't know who you are, you're going to never know nothing else.
Yep, and that's where I'm coming down to the spiritual. That's why this call is called In the Spirit of Things, but I cover it a lot heavier on Tuesday and not on Saturday. Tonight, I just sort of threw this together as an educational platform, just a quick, simple concepts that anybody can apply to get their mind right. Because I'll tell you what, brother, you got aluminum buildup in your brain, not you personally. I'm just saying the masses as a whole, and until you can neutralize it and reverse that, you're going to be a freaking zombie, and that's what's happened to the masses. See, I'm not blaming my brothers and sisters for being zombies. I'm already well aware of the nefarious acts being created outside their capacity of understanding. So this is the simplest way I know to attack it on a good level, but it's not really an attack. It's just a simple methodology that can help get the electromagnetic flow in the mind actually functioning in its proper capacity so they can take the rose-colored glasses off and get their minds right, their spirit right, and their soul right. So based on that, brother, I appreciate your input, and I'm going to go on to the next caller if there is one, and I appreciate your input. Thank you very much. What was your first name, brother? All right. Hey, brother, you have a great... All right. I thank you very much. You have a great evening.
You too.
Thank you. Anyway, folks, that's a different perspective. Yeah, it's all good. Folks, this is where, like I say, it's all good. We have to come together and in simplicity. And he's dead nuts right. Yeah, it comes down to the spirit. If you don't get your mind right and your spirit right, it's hard to move forward because you get sort of stuck because you're not looking beyond the pale. But, folks, I'm going to come and just cover the vital functions here shortly, right now for a minute before we go to our last break. And I'm going to give you the overview, the nickel tour, And folks, all this information is it is located over at my site at privatist.me with attachments, MP3 overviews, educational overviews, and it's really, really simple, folks. So I'm creating literally a library of information on multiple levels, on multiple things that you can do to get your body right and get your mind right, so that you can have an effective shift in your thoughts and your moving forward with the rest of your life. Because otherwise, if we don't shake the tree, folks, and get our so-called minds and our bodies running properly, there's never going to be a shift. We're going to be stuck in the dead zone, so to speak, like zombified, and this can reduce this. This is a starting point. It's simple, and everybody can apply it. So I'm going to cover the vital functions of salt in the body. Matter of fact, I just want to cover a little bit of overview. And this is a little bit from the naval side of things. In this book, I'm trying to find the exact overview. Matter of fact, in the ancient Celtic times, folks, salt was used to treat major physical and mental disturbances, severe burns, and other ailments. Today, biologists attest to that seawater, also called mother liquor, restores the hydroelectric imbalances and a disorder that causes loss of immune response, folks. This is what when you take the Celtic salt and crushed up, releasing these beautiful 84-plus dense nutrients, all of a sudden the body starts to function its proper electromagnetic flow, like I've been saying all along. Anyways, also the therapeutic effect of seawater is recognized and used by the best European medical professionals. Yeah, go figure, Europe, not in USA Inc., folks. Medical professionals, because of its effectiveness in so many situations. Today, people fear salt, and they should, with good reason. The table salt's garbage. It's poison, folks. And we are witnessing a virtual ban on consuming products with high sodium contents. That's good. I like that. And this is a major concern of the biologists. But the use of real sea salt-free diets are showing up in the reality of our modern world as society is coming apart. It is basically a starvation of macro and trace minerals and biological deficiencies and cannot be corrected by refined sodium chloride alone. So Celtic salt is a good product because it's naturally extracted by the use of sunshine. And if one would redissolve the salt in water, that's why I say crush it up, folks. Say it comes in a little chunky form. In the proper ratio, combine it in the moisture foods, its properties recreate the amazing powers of the ocean and bears an astonishing likeness to human blood and body fluids. During World War II, Navy doctors would actually use sea salt water for blood transfusions when blood supplies ran out, and many lives were saved. Yeah, go figure the Navy was involved. Yeah. So, folks, I'm just going to cover a little bit more. I'm going to go to break here in about 6 minutes. Vital functions of salt in the body. Yeah, folks, you can get it from pretty much any health food store to get your body right. So this is good stuff, folks. It's simple, simple, simple. This is where we live. This is where we start. So this is how we get our minds right on multiple levels. Vital functions of salt in the body, and here's a couple references. Salt is most effective in stabilizing irregular heartbeats, and contrary to the misconception that it causes high blood pressure, it is actually essential for the regulation of blood pressure. In conjunction with water, proportions are critical. So that's a major plus, folks. Yeah, you don't obviously you don't want to do a pound of salt at a sitting because that would be having deleterious effects. But a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, properly crushed, releases all the trace nutrients your body needs for that 24-hour period of time. Anyway, salt is vital to the extraction of excess acidity from the cells in the body, folks, and that's where cancer sets up shop when your body's acidic. This reduces that and removes that issue, particularly the brain cells, folks. Salt is vital for balancing the sugar levels of the blood, a needed element in diabetics. Salt is also vital for the generation of hydroelectric energy in cells in the body. It is used for local power generation at the sites of energy needed by the cells. Salt, folks, is vital to the nerve cells, communication, and information processing all the time that the brain cells work from the moment of conception to death. So sea salt is also vital for absorption of food particles through the intestinal tract. Salt is vital for clearance of the lungs, mucus plugs, sticky phlegm, particularly in asthma and cystic fibrosis. Salt is vital for clearing up congestion of sinuses. Salt is strong natural antihistamine. Number 10, salt is essential for the prevention of muscle cramps. Salt is also vital to prevent excess saliva production to the point that it flows out the mouth during sleep. Needing to constantly mop up excess saliva indicates a salt shortage. Salt is absolutely vital to making the structure of the bones firm. Osteoporosis is in a major way is a result of salt and water shortage in the body. So salt is also vital for sleep regulation. It's a natural hypnotic. Salt is a virtually needed element in the treatment of diabetics. Salt is vital for the prevention of gout and gouty arthritis. Salt is vital for preventing varicose veins, spider veins on the legs and thighs. Folks, salt is vital to the communication and information processing nerve cells the entire time the brain cells work, from the moment of conception to death. So, folks, salt is really vital on multiple levels, and there's so many different information in this article, but I'm not going to go into it now. And, folks, this is your starting point. This is how you get your mind right. Like I say, you want to break down the aluminum buildup in your brain, start doing some Celtic salt, and you will have a noticeable difference in how your brain actually starts thinking and processing information. And for a lot of us, we hang out in the fog and the funk because we're not giving our bodies what it's dying to get. And this is where salt comes in. We love our brothers and sisters enough to share with them the truth and give it to them straight up. And matter of fact, I'm going to create a little option, an opportunity for my brothers and sisters who are listening to this call tonight, because I have two incredible PDF attachments that can go to your desktop library for your educational purview on the real truth about cancer and the effective modalities on multiple levels. One is called the 1-Minute Cure. It talks specifically on proper dosage, which most people are totally unaware of, and it's not a hoax. It's 35% food-grade hydrogen peroxide. That's called the 1-Minute Cure, and I'll make that available, as well as another book that was created by a gentleman, and actually he gives a plethora. It's probably about a 492-page read, which is probably a lot deeper than a lot of people want to go, but it points to all the truths on how, as a matter of fact, this gentleman lost 7 family members to cancer and knew that there was something amiss. Just couldn't quite put his finger on it, and then he started researching and finding the incestuous ties with the money powers that be, because, folks, like I say, you're all considered just a proverbial money mark in the medical marketplace. This is why they want to create Obamacare, which they have already, and their next step of bringing forth Obamacare to show you the love is to put a chip in your backside so they can have a control mechanism to your bank account, your checking account, your savings account, your 401k. And if you don't believe that, you haven't read the 2,000-plus page Obamacare bill, which I have read. And effectively, now I got it on my desktop if anyone would like to read it. So I actually dig in and I actually read stuff. They pretty much announce exactly what they're doing to affect a so-called change on us. I say keep the damn change, Obama, because I'm moving forward on a different level. Because I want my effective brothers and sisters to become awake, become responsible for their own issues in life. Because you know what, folks? Like I say, it comes down to taking responsibility. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a one-time offer for my brothers and sisters who can help a little bit about going to the Freedom Reigns U.S. site and go ahead and chip in $10. Because if you go ahead and chip in $10, folks, you're going to have these 2 desktop PDFs sent direct by me as email attachments to go into your onto your desktop or into your files or whatever on an education. Because, folks, you don't want to wait till you actually get a disease before you decide to start working on it, because that's not preventive medicine in any way, shape, or form, and that's operating under emergency situations. Sort of like what I see every day on helping my brothers and sisters who are dealing with multiple court issues. And by the way, we're fixing to put that baby to bed on multiple levels on my educational platforms on privatist.me. Matter of fact, on this next Thursday's call is going to be a real doozy, because we're effectively going back into settle the accounts. It's all about the bonds, folks. It's just about the stinking money. But so what I'm offering for today, because you know what, folks, to hear me rattle on and give you these informations, these educational overviews and processes, you know what, nobody's going to talk about this to you. Nobody's going to share this information with you. Nobody's going to literally put it in a format where everybody can understand, where they can see it, feel it, and touch it. So I've created a modality, an effective mode for everybody to get their so-called minds right and to effectively have a chance to free themselves from the chains that bind on multiple levels. And I'll be covering a extremely effective topic on Thursday because I know my brothers and sisters are hurting. And see, folks, it's all about the estate. They stole the estate from birth, starting with your birth certificate bond, and they've been playing this clown circus game ever since because they literally just created it in these courts. It's not civil or criminal. It's all about the bonds. So I have effectively put together a modality effectively to be used for my brothers and sisters to knock that garbage out the box before ever even going to see the judge. If you wait before the bear's on your doorstep to take up and you operate from a position of weakness because you have no knowledge, well, this is where you get your knowledge. This is where you build it up. This is where you get your paradigm shift, literally, in more ways than one. So I have an effective process. From those, matter of fact, I have one sister who I sent into the lion's den many months ago, and she effectively went and neutralized her issue because she followed directions, folks. She had absolutely no knowledge, had no education as far as in reference to what I was speaking of. Matter of fact, I took her to the deep end really fast. She had her floaties on so she didn't drown, but she got the memo. And so I'm speaking of a near and dear friend who got the memo, and she was able to get these, effectively neutralize these clowns of the circus. That's what I call them because they're just control freaks because they wanted to control every aspect of her life, and she knew she was fighting for her dear life. So I said, well, I gave her a capacity to say, well, I couldn't put 25 years of knowledge in your head overnight. So I just said, well, there's one thing you can do. And I told her, you can go settle the account. She didn't understand what I meant then, but she sure as hell understands now. And that's my producer for Blog Talk. So, folks, I was able to share some valid information because I know exactly what this is all about. I know what the scam is. I know what the game is. And it can be neutralized effectively. She didn't have half the information I'm fixing to put out on Thursday. For those who are members at privatus.me, you're fixing to get the real goods in a different way. And if you can get this, and this is not about common law, folks. We don't do common law. I don't do common law. I can't teach that complex theorem in people's minds in 5 seconds. But I can sure as hell teach you about the money. And I can teach you how to neutralize and settle the account and go to full closure to settle the account. And if you can follow some simple directions, you can neutralize and pretty much upend your cases. So I'm going to go into that very deeply, probably a little bit more on Tuesday. So I will be back Tuesday. But for tonight, what I'm looking for is, you know what, folks, share the love. Because you know what, we are a community of one. We all come together as one. And if we don't, you know what, we're all going to hang from the same tree, folks. If we don't collectively come together and change our paradigm, what's in between our ears, and effectively neutralize, you know what, we can't get them to do what's right, but that's all right. We can do what's right, but it takes concerted effort and a little bit of energy on our part. But it's really not complex. Everybody just made it complex with the dadgum Code of Federal Regulations, implementing regulations, statutes, and all this garbage. Everybody wants to go argue, and they want to go to war. You don't have to go to argue. You don't have to go to war. You just got to go settle the account. So I'm going to be teaching that extensively in an effective modality because I've already got the process developed, and I know it's going to work. I know it does work. Hell, my producer used it, and she didn't have half the information. What you're fixing to get is an effective corresponding informational modality, an effective tool that's going to neutralize this thing because they've been caught with the proverbial hands in your cookie jar. Because what they're doing, folks, is probating your estate, and they've been doing it since birth, but that's all right. Once you understand that their hands have been in the cookie jar and they're not operating in the proper capacity procedure, you have the right to ask for certain things. You just didn't know what to ask for. So I'm going to share with you what you asked for and how to ask for it. And believe me, they're going to get really nervous. And Miss Deatra can attest to that because they got real nervous when she started asking for the right things, and they got really pretty nervous. They got nervous enough where they basically said, you don't never have to come back here again. They didn't want to see her ever again. And that's a good thing, folks. So I'm going to work. I'm going to show you a whole different paradigm, and it's really, really simple. Everybody's been making this complex. Yep, and it's not going to claim your birth certificate bond, the short one, the long one, all this other stuff. No, folks, it's a lot simpler than that. Anyways, I'm going to get into that a little bit heavier on Tuesday in the spirit of things. But for now, I'm just going to cover, I'm looking for multiple donators at $10 a head. Those that go ahead and donate $10 to Blog Talk Radio are going to get these two incredible, comprehensive overviews, information, PDF files on the 1-minute cure and cancer. Think outside the box on how to effectively neutralize pretty much any disease state of cancer, because there's so many different modalities that'll make your head spin, but it's actually very simple, and everybody's made it complex. So you're going to want to have these PDF files for your library for life, because you know what, folks? 1 out of 2 is getting cancer now in America. They say 1 out of 3, but it's more like 1 out of 2. So guess what? That means a 50-50 chance if you're married in your household, somebody's going to get cancer. But you know what? You don't wait until the bear's on your doorstep before you start educating yourself, because then you're operating from a position of weakness and not a position of strength. Then you're going to subscribe to the fear porn from the white coats. Oh, well, we got to do this. We got to hurry up. Yeah, sort of like what they did to my brother's sister over there in Chicago. And then they sent her home to die after they got done neutralizing every good cell in her body. They effectively poisoned her pretty much almost to death. But guess what, folks? She's now getting better. She's been on a nebulizer with sodium bicarbonate and Celtic salt. And, gee, it's amazing how she's effectively reversing the deleterious effects. Anyways, I hear something in the background. All right, Deatra, that's weird. It's not, Mike, it sounds like somebody is doing something to cause us duress. Anyways, folks, it really does come down to us all pulling together, because if we don't pull together, we're going to be in a sorry ship of state. They've already created a whole plethora of more control mechanisms for the masses. If you don't like what you got coming, what you have right now, you're really going to hate what you got coming forward if you don't take a stand to draw a line in the sand to move yourself forward. So this is where we get to come together collectively with our mindsets, with educations, informations, stuff that nobody else is going to talk about, but you're going to get it straight up. So you're going to get an exponential learning curve, because we don't go down all these different rabbit trails and talk about information that have no clarity in your mind and are going to produce a positive outcome for you. What I'm talking about is straight up, straight to the point, and direct. So this is where we collectively pull together. But anyways, for those who are looking to get their educational learning curve on, you definitely want to go to privatus.me. And I got a new post actually on the site. So everybody can go and you can actually sign in for free, folks. We have educational portals, informations, and whatever for everybody. And, yes, it's free to sign up, and that's for your educational collective mindset to get on the right page, watch Changes on the Horizon Part 2. So you can find out in about an hour exactly how we got to the place we're at through the collective history lesson we never got in grade school or high school or college. So they're not talking about that stuff. But folks, it's time to step forward for our collective mindset to come together as one, because this is where we learn, this is where we grow. So this is a beautiful thing. So what I'm looking to, I'm going to go ahead and find my site. 1 second. And let's take a look. Over at freedomreigns.us, got my new cover page, and it's also got my website, Collective. But also, let's go to our home page, and wrong page. Sorry, folks. Anyways, I'm sort of a little tired out, folks. It's been a long talk, but let's go to. I'm going to not the Facebook. Anyways, 1 second, folks. Anyways, Deatra, did you want to comment on a little bit on your bonding experience that you had with the lovely special ones over there in your in the estate where you were at one time and no longer there? Okay, I guess Deatra didn't want to give her 2 cents. That's all right. Folks, let's take a look. I'm sort of... All right, well, sounds like we got some side noise there, Miss Deatra. Yeah, I guess 718's got some issues. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Anyways, folks, yeah, that's what I'm. That's what I call not part of the game plan. Anyways, folks over at Blog Talk Freedom Reigns Radio, like I say, go to w.freedomreigns.us. And like I say, for everyone who donates $10, and they can go ahead and send me an email at petere4@yahoo.com, and they'll get the PDF files. By the way, folks, it's over $100 value. It's so you don't got to pay out of pocket. But by supporting Blog Talk Radio, you allow us to move forward and collectively come together as a team as far as our educational paradigm, changing from the lies to the truth, and bringing forward, like I say, an excellent change. But it's going to start with a little heavy lifting and a little bit of sharing. So we're looking for the collective masses to come together as one, folks. And that's why I set up privatist.me, and spelled PRIVATIS.me. And pull it up. You're going to enjoy the ride because we're talking about what nobody else is wanting to talk about, and we're going to move forward on this collective mindset to come to a different paradigm change. Because, folks, it is upon us, and it's time for the change. But on the salt, like I say, I'm going to finish up on this in about 2 minutes. On that sea salt, folks, that's a starting point to get your collective body running in its proper capacity. Over at privatist.me, I have multiple tapes already and educational portals with attaching documents covering hemp powder, magnesium, chloride, as well as sodium bicarbonate. I have an excellent manual over there by Dr. Mark Serkis, and he covers extensively how effective. And if folks, we also have Dr. Simon Tuminicelli, who's been effectively taking care of cancer on multiple levels. Matter of fact, he was disbanded from the medical community because it was so effective and it was so dirt cheap. Big Pharma was not happy that they weren't getting their cut because they could not patent sodium bicarbonate, which makes the body oxygen rich. So, folks, on that level, anyways, I guess, folks, I guess we're about done here. The PDFs, folks, like I say, will be made available for all those that donate tonight on Blog Talk for Blog Talk Radio, so we can keep this on the air. And folks, it's not a far stretch. I know on New Year's Day there was 41,000 of you, but hey, folks, even a buck in the bucket. If everybody put a buck in the bucket, I'll never have to ask again. And then guess what? We'll stay online, stay on the air for a long time. But for those that do the $10 donation, you'll get access. Like I say, you email me with the proof that you donated the $10 to petere4@yahoo.com, and I'll send you the attachments ASAP. So I thank everybody for coming tonight, and based upon that, I have no further calls. We're going to go to close, and I thank everybody for coming out tonight. So it's going to get real interesting on Tuesday because we're going into a different paradigm shift on how to settle accounts. So y'all have a great night. Thank you very much.